As you know, all this week we've been taking you up to Dunlap, Tennessee to focus on the many great businesses that are up there in Dunlap. One of our first visits, actually, when we recorded everything, was going to the Cookie Jar Cafe. Days after we talked with Sue Ann Lockhart on Wednesday, that Sunday is when, sadly, the restaurant caught fire. So we've been holding the interview with her because we weren't sure about what the plans were for the restaurant. But as you know, they now are going to reopen, and you can find out more about how you can help them in those efforts at thecookiejarcafe.com. But we thought we would go ahead and close out this week by letting you see this conversation that we had with Sue Ann and get you excited for the day when it comes that we can all go and have a nice piece of pie with her yet again. So I know as we're taking this tour of Dunlap, so many of you have been thinking, when are you going to the Cookie Jar Cafe? And the answer is right now. We are inside the restaurant talking with owner Sue Ann Lockhart. Kind of a slow time in your morning, so thanks for letting us come in.
It is, absolutely. We're glad to have you today.
So I had no idea on our drive in quite the family story behind this restaurant. 21 years you celebrate this year.
21 years.
And everything on the menu, do I have this right, is a family recipe.
It sure is. Some of it we created after we opened, but everything we use here, it was a recipe that we've used before. So.
You know that you're famous. I mean, you know, people seek you out, and they have been for a long time.
They do.
And they know they're going to come for the desserts and the home-cooked meals and the sense of nostalgia. There's a lot of bravery here, Sue Ann. You and your sister stepped out on faith.
We did. We have faith in the good Lord, and when He wants something to happen, He's absolutely going to make it happen. So we're out here on the middle of a dairy farm, and we have just been blessed year after year, so it's been great.
So if I heard the story correctly, 21 years ago, you were a college student.
I was, yes. My mom was teaching school, my middle sister was teaching school, and my oldest sister was working at a bank. My dad was ready to retire and sell everything off, but my sisters and I weren't quite ready to let it go yet. So we decided to do more of the agritourism type stuff. But with the community's input and my grandmother's famous recipes, we ended up with a restaurant.
Your grandmother's name was Ruby.
It was,
And you
yes.
said she had long been famous in these parts for all the food she made because y'all had the farm and she would feed everybody.
She did. Everyone in the community knew at 11 o'clock sharp that she would have lunch on the table, and we're talking 2 or 3 meats and 10 or 12 vegetables. It was wonderful.
The old way.
The old way.
So, okay, y'all have had to embrace the new, and you are using the internet and social media to reach people. So on a given day when you come here, you will probably find more out-of-towners than you will locals.
We do. We have quite a few. About 75% of my clientele comes from out of town now. People make the drive from Nashville, Knoxville, Atlanta, all the time.
So can I compliment you on something that I hope is a true compliment?
Sure.
When I came in, you have the cakes in the display, and the coconut cake caught my eye first. I think that a couple of ways down from that is a strawberry cake, maybe?
Yes.
And here's how you know it's homemade. There's just ever so slightly, you can tell, a little tiny bit of a tilt.
Yes.
That means it's going to be perfect, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's for sure. I have one full-time lady, and it's actually my niece, and she does most of the desserts. And then we've hired a few more doing cakes and cupcakes and strawberry stuff. And when strawberries are in season, we try to use them as much as possible, and they're probably some of our most popular desserts.
So talk about your grandmother a little bit and
Okay.
some memories you have of her. What's your first cooking memory of your grandmother? Do you have one?
I do. She used to make this amazing bread pudding, but it wasn't anything like you're normally used to with the rum sauce. It was more like a custard, but she would have it waiting for us when we got home from school, and it was one of my absolute favorites.
Is it on the menu?
It's not here. We have done it in the past, but I'm missing something. I can't find the recipe, so there's some little something in there I can't quite get right yet.
Well, Ruby couldn't reveal all of her secrets.
Of course not.
The name Cookie Jar, that's kind of the inspiration of is it your middle sister?
It is. My middle sister, Bonnie, she started collecting the jars years before we opened, and as we were trying to get settled in, we were moving houses, and my mom decided to build a shelf and put them up in here, and here we are.
And the name
The name
grew
stuck.
from there.
It did.
You know that people are traveling in, so you want them to have the experience that y'all were lucky enough to have growing up. So you've kept that rural feeling to it. When you come in, the dairy farm is still in existence, so you can watch the cows.
You can sit on the front porch and take your time. If you come on the weekends, you're probably going to have to wait on a table. But we have an app that lets you roam the facility, and we'll text you when your table's ready, and it works out great.
Part of that roaming includes a petting
It
area.
does. We have a petting zoo. We've got all kinds of little miniature animals up there, and they usually put on a show for you, so be prepared to laugh as you walk through.
You do want people to come, obviously, for the desserts, and you can get a to-go box. But your food, the lunch and dinner food, is also that home cooking that you grew up with. Do you have a most popular item?
Our most popular item is probably our grilled meatloaf, and we actually kind of came upon it by accident. My mama always made just regular meatloaf, and when we opened, we pride ourselves on having very little to no food waste. So we would save the meatloaf and then warm it up on the grill the next day, and our customers just went crazy. So we've kind of adapted it over the years, and it's now our #1 seller.
Do you pinch yourself sometimes, you and your sisters, that y'all did this? Because I don't want to keep revealing too much about you, but you were expecting your first baby too,
I was,
right?
yes, ma'am, I did. I had my oldest daughter, Savannah, the weekend after we opened, and it's definitely been a ride. And if anything has ever went wrong or would go wrong, it has with us.
Well, I bet that people lean to you in the community because here y'all grew this business from the ground up on faith. You're used to tourists coming your way. Dunlap is growing.
Dunlap is growing. I couldn't be more proud of what our downtown is doing. And I know it kind of seems strange that I have such a hand in it, but I do. I go to the meetings and I attend everything down there because if they grow, I grow. It's wonderful. We have such a close-knit community, and it's been such a blessing to see it grow over especially the last 5 years.
Well, she and I literally just met, and while they were setting the cameras up, we stood down there at that counter and began talking mom to mom.
Yes.
We may have to linger over a piece of cake and a cup of coffee now.
It can be difficult at times, but my three they're wonderful.
My two are too, but still in all, we bonded. So you can come and enjoy the deliciousness, the friendliness, the scenery, all of it. That is the famous Cookie Jar Cafe in Dunlap. They're open Tuesday through Saturday. Don't mind the wait. It will all be worth it.
It will.
Thank you.
Thank you.